You're tuned in to More Living with Jim Brogan, broadcast live from the Brogan Financial Studios at News Talk 98.7, where old-fashioned values, expert knowledge, and genuine understanding come together to give you the retirement straight talk you deserve. Jim's a former National Advisor of the Year recipient and a financial educator, and he's here today to talk about how you can live out the best years of your life. Jim and the Brogan Financial team have been helping retirees and pre-retirees across the Southeast for over 20 years in their pursuit of financial independence. You can reach them during the week at 865-862-6800. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn, because More Living with Jim Brogan starts now.
Hello, East Tennessee. Welcome to More Living with Jim Brogan, where it's all about living the best years of your life your way. This is News Talk 98.7 WOKI. I know that one of retirees' top concerns, or pre-retirees' top concerns, is health insurance and health care. And, of course, we know when we get closer to 65, we've got to deal with all the challenges and choices of Medicare and how to enroll, what not to enroll in, all of those things. Of course, it is a federal health insurance program for people who are 65 and older. Now, there's also, of course, they have disability coverage. We're going to focus on retiree medical. October begins Medicare's open enrollment period. So today we're going to talk about it, what it is, who's eligible, and how to navigate all the decisions when selecting coverages. What's the difference in Medicare Advantage and a supplement? Our guest today is Stephen Sitton. Steve is a client executive at TIS, Tennessee Insurance Services, where he specializes in life, health, employee benefits, disability, Medicare, Medicare Advantage, supplements, all that stuff. Also, the gap that many of you see when you retire before you're 65. What are you going to do for your health insurance coverage to get you to Medicare age? He has over 13 years of experience working with health and financial insurance products, helping clients specifically navigate the complexities of Medicare. Welcome to More Living, Steve. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. You know, tell me how you ended up getting into this field. I know you've been at TIS, I guess, for 13 years. How did you end up deciding to focus on things like health insurance, disability, those kinds of things?
I started at TIS just right out of school, just right out of college, and started my career at TIS. And
well, I have to. If you're going to say that, I have to ask, since it's game day. Where'd you go to college?
Went to Tusculum, actually, not UT.
Well, that's okay.
I'm a big UT fan.
There you go. Just
absolutely.
Making sure.
Yes. So, so I started at TIS 13 years ago and quickly learned that there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of confusion and a lot of anxiety around that gap between retirement and 65 and then Medicare. And so not only am I able to help people, but I'm able to help navigate through those things and really provide some comfort in that. So I really enjoy what I do, and that just kind of just flowed that way and worked out perfectly. So
let's talk about Medicare Part A and Part B first, because that's kind of the foundation, right? So talk us through A and B. Of course, you enroll at 65. Let's just cover the basics first.
So Medicare Part A, is provided through the federal government, through the federal Medicare program. Medicare Part A covers your hospitalization. So inpatient services, inpatient hospital, inpatient skilled nursing. Medicare Part B is outpatient services. So these are going to be things like going to see your doctors, your emergency room visits, diagnostic testing, those sort of things.
Now, what if I'm still working when I turn 65 and I'm covered through my health insurance at work? Do I have to coordinate that? How does that all work?
Well, it's really important as you're turning 65. Typically, we recommend 3 to 4 months before your 65th birthday to start exploring your options. So you want to make certain that your insurance through your employer meets certain standards. If your hope is to stay on your group insurance, you could do that as long as it's a credible plan and meets the requirements.
And the Medicare Part A, of course, is free. Well, it's really not free. Why don't you explain that? That was something I learned the other day when we were talking.
Yeah, so Medicare Part A, we pay that while we're working.
Yes.
And so that line item on your check for Medicare taxes goes to pay your Part A premium. So as long as you've had 40 quarters or 10 years of full-time work history, or if you're married to a spouse who qualifies with that work history, then you don't pay a premium for Part A when you enroll.
Now, on Part B, there is a premium, of course. And what happens, so if I have health insurance at work and I don't want to come on Medicare, you know, under what circumstances would I, if I didn't come on at 65, would I then be penalized and have to pay more for my Medicare Part B?
So in the event that you were to defer your Part B insurance, if you're working for an employer who has more than 20 employees, you can choose to stay on, to defer your Part B without a penalty. If you work for an employer under 20, there's some extra steps you have to make certain that insurance meets the credibility test to avoid a Part B penalty.
Right, and then if you delay it because you cover it through your employer, then when you separate from your employer, that's a qualifying event where then you can enroll and there's no penalty, right?
That's correct. Yes. So when we turn 65, we have our initial election period. So that's when you're first eligible to enroll in Medicare. But if you defer during that time, coming off of your group health plan, whether it's through retirement or maybe an open enrollment, maybe the benefits change on your group plan, and you decide that you want to pick up Part B, you can do so using a special election period loss of employer coverage.
We're visiting with Stephen Sitton. We're talking about the ins and outs of Medicare. If you have a question for us, we'd love to take you on the air today. Give us a call, 656-8255-656-TALK. We'd love to get you on the air with a question about your Medicare. There are so many decisions. Now, is there, if Medicare Part A, if I've already paid for it, and then when I can come on it and I don't pay any premium for it, is there a reason I would not come on it at 65?
Great question. The one thing to consider about Part A or Part B, when we enroll in Medicare, you must stop putting money into a health savings account. So individuals who are working and maybe their employers or they themselves put money into a health savings account, if they choose to enroll in that Part A, they're no longer eligible to make those contributions. So if that's something that you still want to be able to take advantage of, you really need to consider that before you enroll in Medicare.
Yeah, and that's a very important consideration that I meet people in my office that got tripped up on that. Right, they come in, maybe they did they enrolled in Part A a year ago when they turned 65. They still have rich coverage through their employer, and they were not aware that they would not be able to contribute to their HSA anymore. And you just remember, folks, the HSAs from a tax perspective, it's like the best of both worlds of a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. You get the tax deduction going in. As the money grows, you're not being taxed, and then if it's used for qualified medical expenses, then it's tax-free coming out. So from a tax perspective, it really doesn't get any better than that with the IRS and with the federal government and how they tax us on those things. So while we're on HSAs, when we're retired and we're on Medicare 65 and up, what can we use our HSA money to pay for? Let's say we've built up $40 or $50 or $60,000. We want to use that money tax-free. What can we use it for?
So, of course, you can continue to use it for your qualified medical expenses, but at 65, we can begin to also use it for Part B premiums, your Part D premiums, and Medicare Advantage premiums. So,
and, of course, the Part D is for drug coverage.
That's right. Part D is for drugs. Your Part B, of course, is your outpatient medical.
Yeah, now you mentioned Medicare Advantage. I guess some people call that Medicare Part C.
Correct.
And that's different than a supplemental plan. So we're going to get into that. Tell you what, we're going to get to our first break. When we come back, we'll get into some of those things as we visit with Steve Sitton. We'll also take your call, 656-8255. So stay with us. This is More Living with Jim Brogan here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Welcome back to News Talk 98.7's Brogan Financial Studios, where Jim Brogan is coming to you live with important news and advice to help you achieve your dream retirement. Get ready to learn and live. Here's your host, Jim Brogan.
Thanks for tuning in this week. It's More Living here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. I'm Jim Brogan. We're talking about Medicare and all those decisions you have to make. Open enrollment starts. What day does open enrollment start, Steve?
October 15th.
October 15th to December the 7th?
That's correct.
So if I enroll when I'm turning 65, then what do I do every year during open enrollment if I'm already enrolled in Medicare?
Well, so the October 15th through December 7th deadline is a great opportunity to review your coverage. So your insurance carrier, whoever you choose to enroll with, is going to send you a notice in late September that outlines all the changes for your plans. But if you want to review other carriers, because there's lots of options out there, that's the time to do it. So,
is that for your supplements and your Medicare Advantage?
It's going to be for your Medicare Advantage plans and your prescription drug plans. You could change your Medicare supplement during that time as well, but typically your coverage with a supplement, because it's standardized, it's going to continue to offer the same benefits. It's going to continue to adjust just like Medicare does.
And if somebody with a supplement can change any time they want, right? They can change their supplement anytime?
That's correct. So individuals who have a Medicare supplement, the changing of a supplement is not tied to a specific time period.
So let's go. So the basic is A and B. If that's all people do is be on Part A and Part B, what could their exposure be? What type of utilization costs could they see out of pocket?
So with Medicare A and B, there's not an out-of-pocket cap. So most individuals are used to having some form of an out-of-pocket protection with their group insurance or through an individual plan. With standard Medicare A and B, we don't have a cap on that. So for Medicare Part B, you continue to be responsible for 20% of all of your outpatient costs.
With no cap.
With no cap.
So expenses could, and then the Part D how would the Part D fit into there? Could they have A, B, and D, or does D get tied to something else?
So you can buy Part D as a standalone product. So you could have A and B with a prescription drug plan or Part D, or you could purchase it through a Medicare Advantage plan where it's packaged together for you.
Okay, so most people will get some sort of supplement, whether it's a Medicare Advantage or a supplement. What's the difference? What's a Medicare Advantage versus a traditional supplement?
So Medicare Advantage plans, sometimes you hear these called Medicare Part C plans. So a Medicare Advantage plan is purchased through a private insurance company who administers your hospital, your medical, and your drug coverage all into one program. It's a network-based product. And so when individuals are looking for a Medicare supplement, they want to work with someone who can help them explore to make sure their doctors, their hospital, their pharmacy, if they travel, the areas that they travel to, that there's going to be a comprehensive network there. Where with a Medicare supplement, it works totally different. So with a Medicare supplement, individuals choose to have Medicare A and B as their primary insurance. And this supplement, some people call it a Medigap policy. A GAP plan will come in and pay secondary to Medicare. So it helps fill in the costs or the gaps that Medicare doesn't cover.
So if I have a supplement, do I have a network I have to look at, or can I go to any doctor that accepts Medicare?
So with a supplement, that's the beauty of the supplement. It's very flexible. You can see any doctor, any hospital,
traveling nationwide. Nationwide. Sorry, Steve.
No, you're great. That's great.
So you can see just about anybody you want that accepts Medicare. I guess then, how does somebody pick which insurance company? I mean, I guess they're gonna have the same availability for doctors, right? So how do they choose their insurance company that they want to do for their supplement?
So with the Medicare supplement plan, the plans are standardized. So the state and federal regulations require that plans only sell standardized.
Where we have the letters like A through.
They're A through N, and there have been some that have been discontinued through the years. But yes, they're standardized plans. So if you're purchasing a plan N or a plan G supplement, you're going to get the same basic benefit with any insurance company. So you want to pick a company, obviously, that has a competitive rate, because everybody charges different rates for their Medicare supplements. But they're going to all offer you that same basic benefit.
If I'm with an insurance company for a supplement and I get a big premium increase, can I switch carriers?
You can. So we can switch Medicare supplement plans really at any time of the year. But Medicare supplement plans, when we change, typically requires you to go through medical underwriting. So each company has a series of questions that you would have to answer. So maybe different health conditions may prevent you from being able to change plans.
So, but when we first enroll in Medicare, if it's qualified, let's use that word, a qualified enrollment, meaning before 65 or when you lose your job, you separate employer or have some sort of life event, do they ask any medical questions for a supplement at that time?
So when your Medicare Part B very first starts, so when you first enroll in Medicare, you begin what's called your Medigap open enrollment period. It's a 6-month window where you're able to enroll in any Medicare supplement that's offered. No medical questions required. It's guaranteed issue. So you don't have to worry about any kind of medical conditions preventing you from purchasing a supplement initially.
So it kind of opens up a ton of questions for me, Stephen, because, if I enroll in ABC Insurance Company for my supplement, and a couple of years from now the premium gets out of control, does anybody regulate that? Like, do they have to file with the state of Tennessee to increase the premium based on claims experience? Is it anything like that?
The Medicare supplement premiums can increase. Any carrier can increase their premiums based on the way they choose. So there's some states limit that, but it is important to consider before your enrollment, before you initially enroll.
We want to look at rate integrity of the insurance company.
Correct. You want to make sure that you're not just getting a plan that maybe has a really good appealing rate today, but you want to
be bait and switch.
Correct.
Does everybody? If I'm on ABC Insurance Company and I'm 67, do I pay the same premium in Tennessee for that supplement plan G as every other person that's 67 in Tennessee?
When you're enrolling, in your supplement with ABC Insurance Company, they're going to have standardized rates. It does depend on the way the plan is structured. So some companies are community rated, so different areas or regions or zip codes may have different premiums. Most of the carriers you're going to see are going to be age rated, so it is going to be tied to your age, not really where you are.
Okay, now we need to back up a little bit because Part A and Part B, the Part B premium, everybody on Medicare, potentially, depending on income, pays the same premium. Whether I'm 68 or 84, we pay the same premium, right?
That's correct.
For Part B.
Mm-hmm.
What about the supplement coverage or the Medicare Advantage?
Medicare Advantage plan premiums are not tied to your age. So once again, those premiums are going to be calculated for whatever the plan is. They're going to have a set premium that's going to be for every individual that's on the plan.
Can I switch Medicare Advantage plans in the future without asking medical questions?
You can. So between the 15th of October and the 7th of December each year, you're able to review and make plan changes to your Medicare Advantage plan.
We're visiting with Stephen Sitton. He's with Tennessee Insurance Services, and we're talking about Medicare, and it really gets kind of dizzying when you think about all of the options here. So when I'm looking at Medicare Advantage versus a supplement, let's kind of back up to that. The Medicare Advantage has a tighter doctor's network, right, than the supplement does. So I'm guessing it's going to be less expensive than a supplement.
Yes, Medicare Advantage plans are typically less expensive, and they're not increasing as you age. So That's
a big deal, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So then, but you have to look at the network. How often do you travel? Are they all regional networks, or do some Medicare Advantage have national networks?
It depends on the plan and the carrier, but yes, you can get plans that have national networks or will allow you to lock into a network in another area. But that's an important topic to consider before you pick a plan, because some plans are going to be tied to where you purchase the plan.
But that's for the Medicare Advantage.
Correct.
If I have a supplement plan and I want to switch to Medicare Advantage, can I do that? And if I have an Advantage plan, can I switch to a supplement plan?
You can switch. So a lot of times I'll hear people say, well, if you buy an Advantage plan, you can never go to traditional Medicare with a supplement. And that really isn't true, but it does require medical underwriting.
You have to ask us some medical questions.
So it's possible that you wouldn't be able to change back from an Advantage plan to a supplement if your medical history doesn't allow for that. But to switch from a Medicare supplement to an Advantage plan is very simple.
Now, if somebody does not enroll when they're supposed to in Medicare, what's the penalty? And what are they facing? What's the penalty? Does it mean they do have to answer medical questions when they do enroll? How does that work?
So there's two types of penalties that we have to consider. The first is a Medicare Part B penalty. So individuals who don't enroll in Medicare Part B when they're supposed to, or if they choose not to enroll and they don't have qualified employer coverage, when they choose to enroll, the Part B penalty is a 10% penalty for each 12-month period you went without coverage. And that stays with you for the rest of the time that you're on Medicare Part B.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. And then if you don't enroll during an initial election period, or if you don't have a special election period, you have to wait until the general election period to enroll in that Medicare Part B. So the general enrollment period for Part B runs January 1st to March 31st.
I don't know if I can keep all those dates straight, Stephen. That's a lot of stuff to try to remember. We're visiting with Stephen Sitton. He's an expert on Medicare and on health insurance and disability and some of those kinds of things. Let's talk about the premium for Part B. It is income-based. Can you just give us a little bit, and I'll chime in too, because that starts to get into my world a lot, but it is means-tested, right? What we pay for our Medicare Part B and potentially Part D premium is means tested, because the more we make, the more we end up paying, right?
That's absolutely right. So the Medicare Part B premium, the standard premium today is $174.70 monthly. So individuals who, let me back up. So your Medicare Part B premium is always tied to your modified adjusted gross income from 2 years ago. So today, individuals paying for Medicare Part B, their Part B premium is calculated off the income they had in 2022.
Right, and so then the people will get a letter in December telling them what their premium will be for Medicare in 2025, but it'll be based on the income from 2023.
That's correct.
So they're pulling it straight off your IRS filed tax return.
That's right. And
you get into tiers if you make too much money. Or make, I was hesitant to even say it that way. Can you tell us what those thresholds are? Do you have those thresholds, like where the first tier kicks in for a single filer versus a joint filer, when they would have to start paying more Medicare premium?
Yeah, so for a single filer, $103,000 or less, you'll pay the base rate for Part B. And then for married filing jointly, $206 is going to be the special number.
So that's an important consideration. I can't tell you how often I'll have people come to a class or come into my office and they sold a stock or a piece of property a couple of years ago, and now they're getting a huge premium increase on their Medicare. So that's something you have to be aware of. And if that happens, so let's say that happened. Let's say last year in 2023, somebody sold something with a large capital gain that was kind of a one-time thing. Then that'll affect their premium for 2025 because it's 2 years later. Then what happens after 2025?
So it's going to automatically adjust each year. So in 2026, they're going to be looking at their income from 2024. So if their income went back down in 24, they can anticipate that Part B premium to go back down in 2026 as well.
So it's just a 1 year thing. So now there's 5 tiers. Other than the base tier, right? There's
Correct,
the base premium
right.
at the $174 and whatever. Then there's 5 tiers above that. And the first tier or two are not terribly problematic. I think that first tier is maybe about $60 a person, and the second tier is around $100. So you're talking $160 per person. So if you're married, let's call it $2,000 a year per person if you're in the first 2 tiers. Now then, when you get up higher, those tiers become much, much more costly, right?
That's right.
So the reason I'm bringing that up, Stephen, is one thing I see, and I'll ask for your comment on this, is sometimes I think we could go too far with trying to plan for the Medicare premium. Like if I have a stock or a mutual fund or something like that is highly appreciated, and let's say it's a stock, which of course would not be diversified like a fund, and maybe I've got too much in that stock. From a diversification standpoint, I've got too much riding on this one company. $2,000 a year to sell that stock early, if it puts me in one of those first two tiers, an extra $2,000 in cost is a lot lower cost than the cost if we got into a bear market and that stock or that stock had a bad earnings report and really started to take a beating. I could lose a lot more in that stock. So I'm bringing that up because I do see people maybe go too far with planning for the Medicare premium. Have you seen that yourself?
Yeah, I have, and I think that's a great point, and it's a great point for people to have someone such as yourself who's educated to know, what do we need to do financially to help them sort through that.
That's exactly right. And understanding how you can do one thing over here to benefit your financial situation, but it may trigger something else over here. And one of the things I like to talk about with the tax return is, and you heard me talk about this week, Stephen, is, I think of adjusted gross income, that number is like shooting out a pinball in a pinball machine. The higher it is, the higher that pinball is going to shoot out. And the higher it shoots out, the more it's going to hit bumpers coming on the way down. And those bumpers could be phase outs of deductions. It could be extra Medicare premium. It could be the tax you pay on your Social Security income. So it's very important. Anything we can get off of adjusted gross income is a big benefit, which we're not going to get too much into today with things like making charitable contributions directly from your IRA when you have to start taking your RMDs, because that comes straight off adjusted gross income, whereas a cash charitable donation is an itemized deduction that does not come off adjusted gross income. So it's just important to understand all these things. And as Stephen said, that's where we need to put, we got to fit all these things together. And you want to know, the biggest thing is, if I sell this stock this year, in 2 years, I'm going to have an extra Medicare premium. So it just needs to be, I don't like people to be surprised and be like, oh my goodness, I didn't know this was going to happen. Tell you what, we're going to get to our next break. We come back, we'll have more with Steve. We'll also have our dollars and cents segment. What is the difference in a durable power of attorney and a springing power of attorney, and why is that important, and what should you be talking to your attorney about? So stay with us. This is More Living here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Welcome back to News Talk 98.7's Brogan Financial Studios, where Jim Brogan is coming to you live with important news and advice to help you achieve your dream retirement. Get ready to learn and live. Here's your host, Jim Brogan.
Welcome back. This is More Living with Jim Brogan, where it's all about living the best years of your life your way. As you're listening to News Talk 98.7 WOKI, we're with you every Saturday 9 to 10 a.m. and again from 3 to 4 p.m. You can check all of our podcasts. You can go to broganfinancial.com, click on radio. We'll have the Today Show up by Tuesday afternoon. You can also catch all of our other podcasts there, or you can go to Spotify or to Apple Podcast. If you have a question about Medicare for Stephen, feel free to give us a call, 656-8255, pound 98.7. But 656-8255. Actually, Wayne, does pound 98.7 still work? I don't even know if that still works. Does the pound 98.7 still work? It still does. Yes, sir. So I'll tell you what, before we get back to Stephen on Medicare, it is time for dollars and cents.
Want to be sure you are getting the most out of your retirement? For all the years of your retirement? That's the primary goal of More Living with Jim Brogan and our Dollars and Cents segment, where we provide you with an important financial tip that will help positively impact the quality of your life in retirement. And now, here's Jim with this week's Dollars and Cents tip.
What are the different types of financial powers of attorney and medical powers of attorney? We talk about there's the financial, there's the medical, but there are different types of powers of attorney. And the two main one is there's a durable power of attorney and there's a springing power of attorney. Now, what's the difference? If I name my wife my durable power of attorney for, let's say, financial, then she is that power of attorney is durable upon my incapacity, meaning it works now. And it also works if I become incapacitated and she needs to make decisions for me, pay my bills, obtain information, and do all those things. But that means she can do it now, too. So that means if I have a bank account in my name only and she's my durable power of attorney, she can go down to the bank and clean out all the money. Now, usually with first marriages, that's usually the way we do things like that. Sometimes with a second marriage, it gets a little bit tricky. Or if we're naming our kids our powers of attorney. And that's where some people will choose to do a springing power of attorney. A springing power of attorney springs to life upon your incapacity. So first, you have to show incapacity. So in that case, whoever is my power of attorney cannot go down to my bank and clean out my account because I have not been declared, I don't have something that from the doctor. And if a doctor says I don't have capacity, I can challenge that in a court of law if I want to. So now we may not want to put, like that happened with my father. My father had a medical springing power of attorney, and he did not want to go in an assisted living facility, and he really needed to. And in order to challenge that, we could have gotten a doctor's note saying he needs to go into care, but he would have had his day in court. And my dad was a retired lawyer, and he had vascular dementia, so he'd get a little bit worse during the day, as most dementia people do. He could put on a suit, go into a courtroom, and be pretty sharp. And myself and the other kids, we decided we didn't want to sit there in a courtroom and tell an attorney and a judge, my dad does not have capacity, he's incompetent. We didn't want to do that. So we were able to eventually get him in assisted living. But see, there's a lot of issues with this. When I first talk about durable and springing power of attorneys, I usually hear, well, yeah, I would want a springing power of attorney. But there's issues and complications with that, too. The big thing I want to impress upon you here is these are choices that need to be made. And an attorney, and I'm not an attorney, okay, but an attorney should be educating about these choices. One of two things should be happening. They should either be walking you through the various choices, and this is just one on the power of attorney. You talking about wills, trusts, all these other things. There's a myriad of choices to make. Now, some attorneys that I know that are very good, instead of telling you all the options, they'll just ask you a lot of questions to then allow them the ability to make the most appropriate recommendation. But the big thing here is if you go in and see an attorney and in 10 minutes they tell you everything you need to have, that just doesn't make any sense to me. You should be working with an attorney that takes time to understand your situation, isn't interested in just selling you a legal document that's X number of pages long, takes time to get to know you, your family dynamics, what your goals and objectives are, that can truly give you counsel. That's what an attorney's for, to truly give you counsel of what is going to be best for you.
That's our Dollars and Cents segment for this week. You can find this week's Dollars and Cents segment and others by visiting BroganFinancial.com.
To visit us online, BroganFinancial.com. You can click on resources and get lots and lots of resources to help you with your decisions. Today we're visiting with Steve Sitton. He's a Medicare and health insurance expert. He's with Tennessee Insurance Services. They're one of the largest insurance providers in this area for really all kinds of things, right?
That's right. We sell all lines of insurance.
And your life and health, and you do property and casualty and all that stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, it's great to have him with us. We have Bill on the line who has a question about Medicare. Good morning, Bill. Welcome to More Living. You're on the air.
Hi. I have a question. I have Medicare A and B, but I also have TRICARE for Life. Can you explain what that means to me? Which one do I use first, the Medicare, and then TRICARE for Life picks up everything else?
That's absolutely right. So TRICARE for Life works similar to the way we've been talking about a Medicare supplement. TRICARE always pays secondary to whatever other kind of insurance you have. So your Medicare A and B will be your primary insurance, and then that TRICARE is going to come in and pick up where Medicare leaves off. So
I don't need C or D?
You really don't need a C or D plan because of the TRICARE. It's going to pick that up for you.
Right. Now, my ex-wife now, when I was in the military, she is covered under TRICARE for Life, too. So that's good. Now, question I have, do you know if I remarry, will my new wife, if I remarry, be allowed to be covered? I understand she'll be covered as long as I'm alive.
I don't know the answer to that question. That would be a question that the VA office would be able to provide more clarity on for the TRICARE portion, because I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that either, Bill. I know that your ex-wife typically would not be affected by you remarrying. Typically, I'm not even positive of the answer for that with TRICARE. But as far as a new spouse, I'm just not sure. That'd be a question for VA. I agree.
I've talked to this is my understanding. If I remarry, the new wife would be covered as long as I'm alive.
Okay, so then what I hear you saying, Bill, and thank you so much for your phone call. What I hear you saying is she would be covered. Your new wife would be covered through TRICARE as a supplement, if you will, while you're alive, and then when you pass away, she would no longer be covered. And if that is the case, Stephen, then that would be a qualifying event for her to enroll in a supplement plan. Is that right? Because she'd lost her TRICARE?
Different carriers have different rules with regards to guaranteed issue status, but typically, yes, the loss of a coverage like that where you weren't responsible for the loss, it was unavoidable. Most carriers would allow for a guaranteed issue enrollment into a Medicare supplement in that scenario.
Okay, so Bill, that's a very, very important consideration to understand, that she wouldn't necessarily be left without any real options. I think she would probably be fine. But yeah, get with the VA, ask them that question. TRICARE is a great thing because it's a rich plan from what I understand, and it fills in a lot of the holes. Let's talk about supplement coverage a little bit more. They have these letters, A through N as in Nancy, you said, and some of them have been discontinued. So I guess not every letter has a plan anymore. That's confusing to me. But I guess different plans, different letters have different richness of coverage, I would think, and they cost more. Mm-hmm. So I guess if you get a rich plan, and I think you had said the other day, G is the richest plan you can buy now?
Yeah, so for individuals who are Medicare eligible January 1st, 2020 and later, the most comprehensive Medicare supplement plan they would be able to enroll in is a supplement plan G.
So they're going to be more expensive, but then your out-of-pocket costs are going to be almost nil, right?
It's very, very limited. So with Plan G, your out-of-pocket max for Medicare covered services, so inpatient and outpatient services, is just the Part B deductible for any given year. So currently today, the Medicare Part B deductible is $240.
That's all you'd be out.
As long as you're getting care from providers who accept Medicare and it's a Medicare covered service.
Okay, great clarification there. So, if I get a richer plan, I'm going to kind of know I'm going to have a really good idea what my medical costs are because my utilization costs will be almost nothing. If I get a less expensive Medicare supplement plan, then I know what my premium is and it's going to be less expensive, but then my utilization costs are going to be higher. But all that can be budgeted for, right?
That's right.
And I do know, and you've heard me talk on this show before, a healthy 65-year-old that not super healthy, not Superman. Maybe you're on a high cholesterol, blood pressure, that kind of thing, but you don't have real chronic bad conditions. What I've seen is most people that age are going to be out of pocket maybe $5,000 or $6,000 a year per person, but that's all in. That's for premium and utilization if you plan that stuff well. So I'm just throwing that out there because I know I hear, the average person, once they're retired, is going to spend $340,000 on their health care. Well, but we don't spend that all at once, right? It's an annual thing that should be budgeted for in your income plan. When we come back, we're going to wrap up with Steve Sitton about Medicare. We're also going to talk about the status of health care in the United States. Believe it or not, almost 1 out of every $5 that is spent in the United States goes to health care. So I'd like to get Steve's take on that as well. Stay with us. It's More Living with Jim Brogan here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Welcome back to News Talk 98.7's Brogan Financial Studios, where Jim Brogan is coming to you live with important news and advice to help you achieve your dream retirement. Get ready to learn and live. Here's your host, Jim Brogan.
Welcome back to More Living here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. We're visiting with Stephen Sitton. He is with Tennessee Insurance Services. We're talking about Medicare and all the dizzying array of decisions. Now, earlier, I was talking about how all these dots connected with premium and what if you sell something with a capital gain, and we were talking about tax planning. There's just so many intricacies and connection. It's exactly the kind of things I talk about at the upcoming class at Pellissippi State Community College. That is Thrive Financially in Retirement is on Tuesdays, October 15th and 22nd. So that's a week from Tuesday. So a week and a half, Tuesdays the 15th and 22nd. We have 7 main things I cover in that class. I teach that with Eric Ballou in my office, who is accredited wealth management and analyst as well. So we'd love to see you there. If you go to PellissippiRetirementPlanning.com, you can find out more information. You can download a syllabus and you can click to register. So again, PellissippiRetirementPlanning.com. You can download a syllabus for that class. The name of the class, Thrive Financially in Retirement. I hate we're almost out of time. We were just talking off air that we could go for 3 hours on Medicare and health insurance. I mentioned there before the break, Stephen, that 17% of the U.S. economy, so almost 1 out of every $5 spent in the U.S. goes to health care. In your view, why is health care so expensive in the U.S. as compared to other developed countries?
I think that...
Do you think the insurance regulations and laws and rules, what I have found is when the government is supplementing something, the government is subsidizing Medicare, right? And from my vantage point, when the government subsidizes things, costs can skyrocket. Look at student loans. Look at all the different things that have happened with college tuition since the government subsidized more and more of that. The costs just balloon. At least that would be a thought I would have. And then, of course, we got the pharmaceutical industry and the lobbies and all that. Mm-hmm. So it just is a dizzying, it's kind of a tough situation, and the costs are just going to continue to skyrocket, I think.
Right. And I think if you look at healthcare cost pre-65 to after 65, really the cost of health insurance for people over 65, it's actually dramatically less than what we see healthcare costs.
That's right, because the government's subsidizing it.
Correct.
Right, and so that's an important consideration. Some people overestimate what they might have to budget for healthcare. Steve Sitton, he's with TIS, Tennessee Insurance Services. One thing we haven't even gotten into, Steve, is that gap if you retire before age 65. Do you get insurance on the exchange? How does COBRA work? What if COBRA takes you past 65? There's so many things we didn't have time to get into today. One thing I do want to mention, you could help people enroll in Medicare just as you can a supplement, right? And
Correct.
There's that people don't pay more money to use someone for that.
Correct. So you should never be paying someone a fee to help you with your Medicare enrollment or even your under 65. You're talking about the gap, your under 65 exchange enrollment. Insurance companies are paying commissions to agents to assist you with that. But
it doesn't affect what you pay.
It doesn't affect what you pay. It's built into the premium anyway. So you shouldn't be paying a fee to have someone help you with your Medicare.
So, Steve, if someone wants to get hold of you to ask you questions or have them help you with their Medicare, how can they get hold of Steve Sitton at Tennessee Insurance Services?
Yeah, so the best way to get us would be just to call our office. The phone number is 865-691-4847. Ask to speak with Stephen Sitton or the Medicare team, and they'd be able to get you directed over to our department, and we'd be able to help you with that.
Okay, 691-4847.
You got it.
Okay, Steve, you're just an encyclopedia on Medicare. I'm very impressed. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your wisdom with us and your knowledge.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. That's Steve Sitton. He's with Tennessee Insurance Services, specialized in Medicare, health insurance, disability, a lot of those things. Give him a call, 865-691-4847. Today, we've discussed health care decisions because greater health provides for more living so you can live the best years of your life your way. Thank you to Wayne for engineering the show. Thank you to Jill for helping produce the show. Check us out online, BroganFinancial.com. Have a very blessed weekend. Go Vols. Let's beat them Razorbacks. You've been listening to More Living with Jim Brogan here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
The views expressed by Jim Brogan and his guests are not that of Cumulus Media. Any discussion of financial, legal, and tax planning strategies is not intended to be individualized advice and is general in nature. Always consult with your advisor for advice specific to your needs. This program's content does not represent a recommendation of any particular security, strategy, or investment by Jim Brogan or Brogan Financial Incorporated.
Need a shot of mid-morning good news? We've got it on Tell Me Something Good, weekdays at 10:20, only on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Ooh, what is it? Fudge? Yum!
It's from Old South Candy. Try it.
Here you go, honey. Thanks, Grandma.
Grandma?
Nope. Still me.
Decadent and nostalgic fudge from Old South Candy. Give a deliciously unique gift and choose from seasonal and classic flavors. They are sure to have a favorite for everyone. Visit us at 7146 Maynardville Pike, Suite 200 in Knoxville. Shop online at oldsouthcandy.com.
It should be easy to find a local plumber, right? Plumber near me.
Hey there, we can help you.
Weird. These are all big companies.
Excuse me, we're a plumbing company 2 miles away. Hello?
Well, it is what it is. Guess I'll dial that 1-800 number.
Can she seriously not see us?
No, they can't see you because you're buried deep in the list of local plumbers. You're invisible online. Introducing Cumulus Boost. Get a boost. Get found. Get on the map. Learn more at cumulusboost.com.
It's football time in Tennessee, and News Talk 98.7 WOKI and Old South Candy have teamed up to give you the sweet seed of the game. Submit a screenshot of a ticket from the game each week at newstalk987.com, and you could win a sweet prize pack from Old South Candy, loaded with fresh fudge, candy, or cookies. Happy football season, and go Vols from Old South Candy and News Talk 98.7 WOKI.